Okay, the next chapter, chapter 13, is the spinal cord. We're going to be talking about that. For example, the functions conduction, because it allows us to take information up and down the spinal cord to reach the brain. Neurointegration, there's a lot of coordination that happens at the level of our spinal cord. Locomotion, it involves a continuous movement and coordination of muscles in order to walk. And this coordination happens many times at the level of the spinal cord. Reflexes is also another very important function, because in the case of reflexes, the brain does not work and all the coordination happens at the level of the spinal cord. So let's take a look at the surface anatomy. What do we have right here in the case of the spinal cord? Spinal cord is inside the vertebral column. As you can see here, this is your vertebral column. The vertebral column is composed of vertebrae, and inside the vertebrae you have the vertebral foramen, and inside the vertebral foramen you can see in there the spinal cord. Spinal cord starts at the base of the brain, comes out of the skull through the foramen magnum, and goes all the way down here to the lumbar area approximately, where it's going to end. The bottom part of the spinal cord is called the medullary cone, or condus medullaris, as you can see right here, and that's where it ends. What continues after that is a lot of nerves that will go down towards the sacrum. This set of nerves are going to be called the cauda equina. So how do we anchor this spinal cord so it doesn't move? Because if it moves, it will create a lot of pain and it may damage the spinal cord. So it hangs from the bottom of the brain, right, through the spinal cord, and it has some ligaments that it will help you attach them to the walls of the vertebrae. And also down here is going to have some sort of ligament. Right here you can see it in brown, which is called the terminal phylum. We know from the spinal cord, what you're going to have coming out of it are going to be nerves. So then what are all these? These are going to be nerves. Since these nerves are going to be located in your spinal cord, they're going to be called spinal nerves. Okay, so let's keep scrolling down. And we see now a cut of the spinal cord. You can see here some attachments, the denticular ligaments, which I was telling you they are going to anchor the spinal cord to the walls of the vertebrae so it doesn't move. Not only that, you can see sensory nerve, motor nerve in yellow. Sensory nerve and motor nerve. In blue, this blue area is a fluid. This fluid not only protects the spinal cord but also the brain, therefore it's called the cerebrospinal fluid. Another thing that protects the spinal cord and the brain are going to be these three membranes right here. These three membranes in pink, light blue, and brown, they are called the meninges. This one is the dura mater, arachnoid mater, and pia mater. So right here, we have the spinal cord only after we remove the vertebrae, so we can see what are the characteristics that we have right here. You're going to have two main areas, one clear and the other one is dark. The clear is the white matter, the dark one is the gray matter. White matter, columns. Gray matter is going to have horns. So then what columns you're going to have? Anterior column, middle column, posterior column. Gray matter, same thing. Posterior horn, middle horn, anterior horn. The gray matter is connected by this brown area right here in the middle. That's called the gray commissure. In the middle of the gray commissure, we're going to have a hole. This hole is called the central canal. The central canal will allow the flow of the cerebrospinal fluid through your spinal cord. Posterior to the central canal, you're going to have the posterior median sulcus. And anterior to the central canal, you're going to have the anterior median fissure. Not only that, but we also have these nerves, sensory nerves and motor nerves. So this one is going to be sensory, this one is going to be motor. Same thing applies to this side. This is going to be sensory, this one is going to be motor. How do we know which one is sensory and which one is motor? You look right here at this enlargement. This is the posterior root ganglion. It says posterior because it's on the back. So this is going to be sensory, posterior. And this is going to be sensory as well, because right here you can see the ganglion. So if this is posterior and this is posterior, this is going to be anterior, therefore this is going to be motor. This is also anterior, and this is going to be motor. So then there are two characteristics that you need to understand about this. When the nerves are outside the spinal cord, they are going to form plexus. When the nerves are inside the spinal cord, they are going to form tracts. So if we keep scrolling down, we're going to see in there the meninges of the spinal cord. We already mentioned that. Dura mater, arachnoid mater, and pia mater. They protect the spinal cord. We also cover the cross-sectional anatomy where we mentioned that we have gray matter and white matter. If we keep scrolling down, we have right there gray matter. Again, we have anterior, posterior, and median horns. And in the case of the white matter, we're going to have columns, anterior, middle, and posterior columns. Spinal tracts, we said we have ascending tracts, which are going to be sensory because they send the information up to your brain. And we also have descending tracts. Those come down from your brain in order, for example, to move your muscles. So if we keep scrolling down, you can see here some examples of where these tracts are located. And as you can see here, if they go up, ascending tracts. If it's ascending, it's sensory. Or you have these ones, green, descending tracts. Obviously, you're going to have both on each side, right? This is just for educational purposes that you have green on one side and red on the other side. So if we keep scrolling down, we can see ascending tracts. So you have a nice figure in there. Right here it says receptors for pain. So this is in your skin. As you can, if you follow the arrow, you see it goes up. So this is going to be an ascending track. Okay, so sensory are always ascending track. So if we keep scrolling down, there you have the names of these tracks. You have a nice table in there. We'll go back to that table in a second. And you have right there descending tracks. Descending tracks, the information will go down from your brain. As you can see here, this is your brain, and you see the tracks, the nerves going down and the arrow going down. So obviously this is going to be descending because it goes down from your brain down into your muscles, right? And right here, as you can see, it says to skeletal muscles. One very important part that you need to understand right here is that descending tracks, the nerves that come down, they cross. As you can see here, you see they cross. Not all of them, but a big percentage of nerves cross. This crossing is called decussation. And in what part of your nervous system this happens? It happens at the level of the brainstem, specifically in the medulla oblongata. As you can see it right here. So this is called decussation of the pyramids because this part of the medulla oblongata is called the pyramids. And since they cross, that's why it's called decussation of the pyramid. If we scroll up for 1 second, we can see here a table where you can see the major spinal tracts, and they're divided in ascending tracts, sensory, or descending tracts, motor. It's more than enough that you know that there are ascending and descending tracts, and that ascending are sensory and descending are motor. That's all you need to know. You don't need to know the names or the functions of every single one of them. Okay, let's scroll down to see what else we have. We already covered descending tracts, ascending tracts, and that's about it for this part.